Alright, attempt number, I don't even know how many to try to record this one. So, this save's a little bit different. I'm not gonna go over how you get to, to get to the infinite science and everything. If you watched any other of my videos, you see that I have a bunch of blueprints that I repeat and reuse for the early, mid, and, beginning of the end game. So I basically, for this map, I just did a very basically copy paste of one of my successful 60-minute science 60 pack. Uh, yeah, a very slow performing, not very high in resources, small base, and I made it here right next to the lake. This is where around this lake is where I originally started, and I just made a little belt base that just did all the science. And for this game, I wanted to do two things. This was when 1.0 released, so I wanted to play around with spidertron, and I wanted to see how viable it was to use spidertron as like a logistics vessel. At the same time, I had just came out from using logistics train network mod, and I kind of wanted the same convenience but with vanilla because the LTN is kind of hard to manage and to set up everything for every new station. And I came out to the conclusion that it was quite possible to make a many to many train network. So basically, I would just have oil in and oil out stations and a bunch of trains to fill out the stations, and within these lines they just go to the first station that's available. I didn't do a lot more logic. I just added the usual actually I'm saying that I did, but I don't think I even did. No, I did. You can see the wire connections. So basically the station will turn off if there's not enough ore for a for two carriages of train to pick up. So very dumb, simple thing, but the fact that it allows me to basically copy paste the production facilities, add the trains, and know that from one place or the other they'll get them. And it was fun. It was a lot of fun. I got a lot of I decided to go with solar panels for energy. Wasn't the best idea. It does manage it pretty well, but it took me a long time to get here. Like, this game's been idling for a while. You can see a lot of the struggles that I went through. Uh, yeah, unfortunately, none of the graphs show the brownouts, but there was a lot of brownouts. I guess it's easier to see in the production graph. Um, if I look for sciences, and now we start looking, and they're really stable, but then you can see here, this is when I introduced a new production unit, and it had this whole little ziggly zag, and that's basically happened every time that I add a production facility. This is because this is my first map or save game using I really should have wrote a script using beacons. And the first attempt was a belt-based attempt, and I quickly got really tired of belt weaving into spaces and everywhere. But it is what it is. This thing does. This one cell, I think it does 10. Yeah, it does 10, and it's 312 because there's some remainder because each one of these. So how many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got 5. We're doing at 300. So they are 60 per minute. So it's a pretty good efficient base. It takes everything, and it's all based out of the blueprint book that I have that I can just keep expanding. And the way basically it works is, let me find a empty-ish cell. So like right here, I can just come over here, make sure that things are aligned correctly. It's kind of hard to tell, and I plop that in there through the map, and then I call the right spidertron that has all the solar panel stuff, and he goes over there and his logistics start building that out. And most critically, I have the production sciences. I have a very simple belt based ore pickup, and then I have these like I guess I would call them like defense perimeter things. Basically, it's set up with a lot of laser turrets and an artillery cannon that every time I plop one of these down, it secures an area around it, and I can build around, basically as you see in it doing right here, which is where I'm at. Now, this save is pretty old, because after I got to this stage in the save, I found out that, Factorio itself supports a Lua game engine, and it has a bunch of commands like the one that I'm highlighting down now that you can give yourself glyph exposes. And I just went and became a big cheater. I ended up trying to write a script that took this blueprint book and kind of looked at every empty cell that it could fit while overlapping an existing blueprint. And a lot of things went well. It was a lot of fun. I spent a lot of time doing that. One of the vestiges of it you can see is that the whole ocean is dotted. That was my way to allow the spidertrons to like walk across water. But as a vanilla game, I have some lessons to take from this. This thing is basically, in terms of potential, it can go on and on and on, and I probably should keep playing this save. Because 300 science per second is basically my best, I believe, at least this table. Because as you can see, like in an hour and 10 hours, it's been really clockwork. And the reason that I've managed to do that was using like a science calculator, and then making sure that these science labs are affected specifically by a certain amount of speed modules. So these production cells are production capped by how much these science labs can consume. So that means that it fixes the problem that I've always had in my Factorio factories, is that we would get an influx of raw resources, like a train arriving or something like that. It would flood the belts. All of the intermediate pipelines would get a overwhelming amount of produce, waste a bunch, and produce because everything was mostly like manifold style. So basically taking a belt off the main bus, filling it in, and then once that thing is capped, then the resources move forward down the bus to the next resource, exactly like a manifold. And that produces a lot of waste, and I wanted to make sure that because this was going to be very expensive, because everything is beaconed and moduled, and I quite exaggerated things because I really wanted to make this science thing fit inside of this shape that I went with for my grid, which, by the way, the reason I went to it is that there's no 4-way intersections ever. It's always 3 ways, which for Factorio makes it a lot easier to avoid congestion. But in the end, I have 3 things to say about this base. Is that 1, it grew larger than what my patience to watch the spidertrons go from one end to the other is. And this is a perfect example of it. My solar panel spidertron is completely out of resources. So for me to keep going, he now needs to make the long trek to the hub, fill up, and then go all the way back out. And that's, I know that I started this in the intent of seeing, how does Spidertron do as a logistics unit, and the truth is it's not very good. And I don't want to be unfair. It did build all of this. I didn't use a large robot factory. Each one of the production cells or the defensive cells has a robot network, but in large, I don't have a massive robot network that just builds everything for me. Everything is the Spidertron goes over there and it builds. And as you can see, I have a collection of Spidertrons that does the work. One of the biggest problems was Spidertron does not have enough inventory for a full solar cell or not all, even with the 3 spidertrons that I sent to make the production cells, it's all these many trips, because two of them need to be for the concrete, one of them is only carrying modules and beacons, and then another one is actually carrying all of the factory materials. And then my character needs to go here anyway to set up all of the trains. And basically, it's still a lot of work, and it doesn't create a base that it's easy to expand. And that's where we get why the reason I'm documenting this save is because I'm about to start a new save where I'm going to take a lot of these lessons. I'm thinking that instead of hexagons, I'm going to I'll probably go back to a square shape or anything that is stylable, really. But I need to, now that I have a good idea what, a fully beacon 60 science packs per minute base looks like, I want to take that blueprint and fit it into a way that it's stylable and actually take a crack at 1,000 sciences per minute, because this space got pretty close. It's just a matter of me having patience, but as I just said, it takes so long. The guy's still coming back. It just grew beyond measure. And the reason why I say maybe I should keep playing this is because the solution that I have in mind is to just make a couple of dedicated hub or production cells. So like this one produces everything that you see placed on a map. Everything came from this hexagon, including all of the modules. Everything is made here, and everything is very inefficient. You can see here's the production modules, and yeah, everything is done here. And honestly, I should have just done a module dedicated production unit here, a beacon production unit here, and just have things separate, so that or even just duplicate, just have more of them, because besides of the time waiting for the spidertron to come back, a big amount of time that is wasted is waiting for materials. So I want to take all of these lessons and kind of go about to a new start. I really want to say that I've gotten 1,000 science packs in a factory that I designed. I thought this was going to be it, and honestly, if I had the patience, it would be it. But I rather take my lessons from this one and kind of take another stab at it. And here's the key things for the next save. Nuclear power. Even if I do dabble in some solar power, nuclear needs to be, at least a failsafe. It needs to provide a baseline, especially if I'm going to use laser turrets again. Second lesson, don't use laser turrets, use uranium bullets. And finally, there's so many tracks laid out in the whole map. Like, the amount of tracks that is laid out for the amount of trains that use the tracks is completely disproportional, and it's really wasteful. So a lot of this space is just completely wasted for, aesthetics or, space for solar panels. But like, I can guarantee you, a train almost never passes here. A train almost never passes here. Like, it's completely redundant to have this many paths, even though, I never had a bottleneck or anything like that, but it's completely wasteful. So yeah, I want a tighter grid. I want to have a train setup that I can, start new sections of the grid. Instead of sending a Cybertron over, I would hop on a train, get there, lay out a blueprint. My robots get started with a blueprint. I unload some robots. They take care from there on. I can go do something else. So yeah, that's the plan. I really wanted to make a video documenting this one because I did learn a lot and I had a lot of fun with this. I wish I would have recorded some of the stuff that I did with the Lewis scripting engine. Nothing was very successful, nothing like a self-replicating base, but I did have a lot of fun with that, and I wish I would have recorded some. But yeah, here's another video just documenting one of my Factorio bases.